So this episode is our journey, and this is sort of the opening episode of our life, our story, the why, and we're going to spend some time in just getting some background so the world, the audience would know a little bit about Sharon Stevens, formerly Sharon Lindsay, and then me as Mike Stevens. Tell us about Sharon Lindsay. Tell us about your past, your background, where you're from, and we'll go from there.
Again, my name is Sharon. Well, my maiden name is Sharon Lindsay, from Candor, North Carolina, North Carolinian. And my parents raised in a single parent home, but my parents were married, divorced. So that's my background.
Okay. I came from a two-parent home from Houston, Texas. My dad was from Gonzales, Texas. Mom was from Charleston, South Carolina. They met. I grew up in Houston, moved to the Carolinas in the late 80s, 2 years of high school, and we met as freshmen at North Carolina A&T State University. Sharon, tell us what you remember about North Carolina A&T State University, our freshman year when we met.
Again, I have to go back to my background, again, from Candor, North Carolina. And I remember my high school teacher telling me, she was like, when you go to college, you got to meet the person you're going to marry. I'm like, I'm not going to college for that. That wasn't true, but I'm like, why is she telling me this? But little I know, but that God would bring you from Houston, Texas, and connect us in that way. And so we met our freshman year of college. We met, but actually we didn't like each other initially when we met in college, because he was like very talkative, very outgoing, and I was the same. And so with our friends, we used to talk about each other, how much we talked, and
But you remember the library days, and if anyone knows anything North Carolina A&T State University, all right. So that being said, you remember the library, the cafeteria, the campus house. We got together. We basically started liking each other because it was organic. It was a friendship.
Yeah. I remember being in the library, sitting at a table, and you were at another table, and we would see each other. We had awesome Christian fellowship on North Carolina A&T's campus back in 1988, 89, our freshman year. Wonderful fellowship. And so you were at the table in the library, and you complimented my lips. I remember that as clear as day, because I was very conscious of my smile, and I thought my lips were too big. And you were like, oh, you have the most beautiful lips. And I'm like, this guy is,
So I threw a rap on you that day, and goodness gracious, that was 35 years ago, something like that.
Wow, it's been
and you've
that
been with me ever
long.
since. So all that being said, we call ourselves relationship experts. And I want to dive into that. And I think that people who watch this broadcast, people who listen to this episode, they kind of want to qualify that. What does that mean to be relationship experts? You're a licensed Christian therapist. What does that mean to be an expert with relationships?
Well, I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor, and being an expert in relationship, it's one who has the knowledge of a situation, one who has the life experiences, and one who has practiced it out in their own life, or of course practicing as far as helping others. So that qualifies you as an expert. And I feel like, after being married for 32 years, dated for like 2.5 years, we can talk about relationship.
The word range comes to mind for me when I think about, and of course, you have the credentials, you have the degree, you have the experience, you have the professional practice.
Yeah.
I don't have really a lot of that. What I do have is, yes, I've been a husband for 32 years plus, but as a senior pastor of a church for 30 years, definitely. I think I've seen it all in terms of counseling and pastoral care and couples and singles and dating and divorce. And I don't think there's any situation that we have not counseled or cared for. And then on top of that, that range goes beyond that, because as a coach, as a friend, we've seen all of the highs and lows. We've seen the ups and the downs. And I think that we now want to be those people for others that we didn't have there for us.
Right.
And so with that being said, we talk about being not only relationship experts, but one of those areas is a restoration specialist.
Yes.
Talk about why that's important to you and why that would be important to anyone watching this broadcast.
When we talk about restoration specialist, of course, somebody who has the experience, somebody's
and we have
life
experience,
the knowledge, and have practice. So make you expert. So as far as restoration, been married for 32 years, and just the challenge that we faced in our marriage, we can talk it out. And not only have we faced the challenges, but we're still together to go through the process and tell others of how we made it through the storms and the challenges of our relationship.
Now, before you jump into that, let's kind of go maybe stage by stage. Let's talk about Let's talk about our dating and engaged. Those 2.5, 3 years we dated, we were engaged, and we got married. What do you remember about those first few years? Because again, people are going to want to know, how does that relate to us? Talk to us about those first 2 or 3 years of dating and maybe the first couple years of marriage. What do you remember? What would you say were some of the successes? And then what would you tell others? Well, here's some of our challenges.
Okay. So I'm going to answer, then you're going to answer.
Yep,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I particularly in our dating relationship, we were like buddies.
Mm-hmm.
We hung out at a theater somewhere.
Harrison Auditorium.
Amphitheater where it went up the seats and everything. But long story short, we used to sit there and we used to stay together. We talk about other people we liked on campus because we were literally just good friends. We were just friends.
Right,
I actually introduced you to people who were close to me.
Yep.
We were just friends, and I just remember a solid friendship with you. And of course, coming from my background, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but my parents were divorced. Mm-hmm. I did mention that, and so I was very guarded in me going to school, getting to know someone, because I had prayed to God. I'm a Christian, and I was like, God, unless you send me the right one, I will be by myself. So connected with you, this guy you were crazy, like to cut up, like to have fun, still do. Even in your preaching, you funny and your delivery. But anyway, but back then that was a thing that drew us to each other. Just a solid friendship, enjoy hanging out with each other. And I'll get to the list later. But the things that I had prayed for, wrote down. You checked those boxes. So how was our first few years for you?
Well, first of all, what and you've already mentioned this, but I was attracted to your love for God. Mm-hmm. I was attracted to you physically. I was attracted to your personality. Mm-hmm. And we just had a real easygoing, cut-up relationship. Yeah. We could laugh, we could talk, we could read together, we could study together, we could cut up. We were comfortable being ourselves. And for me, that was a drawing card to, pursuing you in marriage. Mm-hmm. And it's been no regrets, no looking back and wonder what could have happened, what could have, should have, would have. But it's amazing how even after 30 some odd years, we still have that to this day. And we'll jump into those things because people are going to want to know at certain levels of our marriage, at certain levels of our relationship. You all call yourselves the experts. You say you're the specialist. Tell us about these different stages. And so that being said, Sharon, we want to come out not as doctor and pastor and therapist and counselor, but we're Mike and we're Sharon. Yeah. And let's talk to these couples, starting with those who are premarital, dating, engaged, what to look for, how to affair-proof their marriage, how to bring the best out of each other. Yes. We'll talk to those married couples who've been married from 0 to 5 years, it's still learning new roles, responsibilities, traditional roles versus roles where people are skilled at and people actually flow better no matter the gender. Now, that being said, what about those, I think they call it the 7-year itch? Somewhere between that 6th, 7th, and 10th year, people kind of get, very common with each other, start taking each other for granted, and that's where challenges happen. And let's take it there. How many people have you and I talked about or known of, they've been married 20, 25, 30, 35 years, and they're getting divorced? Yes. So there's something I think we offer some of them in therapy. To every level of someone who's been married or dating. So exactly. I mean, like you said, I see some of those couples in therapy 35, 36 years, 2 years, it doesn't matter. Because if you don't know how to, deal with those different seasons in your relationship, those different challenges in your relationship, you won't make it, right? Even if you need to go to therapy, because we've been in therapy, in those most challenging seasons. So that's definitely necessary, but I know the biggest thing that has kept us together is our solid friendship. The biggest thing. So that's why, like you said, from 0, even before you get to 0, premarital dating, we want to address those conversations because we've been there, we've lived that, and that solid relationship is key. There are a couple of major objectives and major talking points to the platform we have. If someone was to say, why should I subscribe? Why should I follow? What will the content be like on a regular basis? There are a few R's we've kind of captured, right? Somewhere between couples that need to be rekindled, couples that need to be refreshed. Some couples need to be resurrected or resuscitated. And then we'll talk about what restoration means. Now, before we go into all of that, we talked about some of our joys and successes of dating and early on marriage. What about the challenges? What about the challenges? And give us a 30,000 view of some of the challenges we face. And then on top of that, what helped you as a wife make it through some of those challenges?
Okay. Again, after being married for what I think the major area of our challenge, well, first of all, just being busy and not having a balance as we began to go into ministry, raising a family, having kids, because we started pastoring. You started pastoring. We didn't have kids. We started our church. And so segueing from starting a ministry, then building a family, and then it was just so many opportunities, so many doors open for us, right? Just like left and right, people calling on you. And so just really being busy and I feel like at that time, not having a balance and not having a lot of people that could just speak to where we were. We were very excited about all that we were doing in life, but it's like we didn't have anybody that would tell us, slow down or things of that nature. Because at that season and at that season of church building, it was just all about growing and the mega church and what you had. Sure. And so I feel like we got caught up in that culture.
On top of that, bad decisions were made.
Yes.
I made some very, very bad decisions that had a major impact, not only on our marriage, but on our family, our children, on our church. And because it was a public failure, it seemed like everyone in the world knew that. I know what kept me, and I know what helped me on the road to restoration and recovery. But what do you go back, Sharon, and what would you tell that wife who's interested in knowing, okay, number one, what happened? Two, how did you overcome? What comes to mind? What one or two things come to mind that you can remember back then that has been a tremendous strength and help as we went during this journey?
In that season, definitely my commitment to the Lord and just being a praying wife carried me through. But as you were honest about where you were and the challenges you faced, right? Our friendship was a major thing. I literally looked at my friend. I was like, as I saw your brokenness, I was like, I don't know if the marriage is going to last, but right now I need to help my friend get restored. Because it literally shifted from a wife relationship, just my concern as a wife, but my friend is broken. And I want to help my friend. And again, as I help my friend, I don't know where the marriage is going to be, but I want to help my friend get back on his feet, because at that season, as we were going through, it seemed like everybody was against you and those challenges, but it's like, oh gosh, I got to help my friend. So that got me through just our friendship, then just my walk with God and knowing how to pray and say, Holy Spirit, Father, if you want me to stay here with him, carry me through, because I don't want him to be lost because he stumbled and fell, right? Because as a therapist, I want to say this, it's two sides. Now, maybe that's why God wanted me to go to school, because I know it's two sides to the story. It's just not, one may have committed the act, but how did it happen?
Sure.
Right? So that's how I made it through.
And it took me years to appreciate and embrace what you just said. I heard this testimony. I've heard these expressions, in particular the first 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 years. But Sharon, I'll be honest with you, it took me years to really understand the concept of friendship. It's one thing to be a comrade. It's one thing to be a buddy. But I saw the depth of your friendship to me when I was out and down.
Yeah.
And it gave me a greater resolve to never have to go this direction again, to never have to disappoint you again, or my family, or the ministry, or the world for that matter. And so for me, it was you befriending me. The Bible said that a friend is born for the day of adversity.
Yes.
And that's who you became. Yes, you were a wife. Yes, you were a lover. Yes, you were a teammate. But I saw the genuine friendship. Yeah. And I believe that sustained me. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our faith. When I had no faith that God would forgive, when I had no faith that I'd ever be able to go forward, it was your friendship combined and coupled with faith in God's word that no matter how you feel, no matter what the world is saying, no matter what it looks like, God, forgiveness is everlasting. The Bible says that Jesus is an advocate for those that faithfully confess. All that being said, we've committed to this journey now. And so this is our story, our journey. Our goal is to help couples everywhere from premarital and dating all the way to those who need to be rekindled, revived, renewed, resuscitated, resurrected. But I think at the end of the day, there's a pathway to true restoration and reconciliation. Yes. And I believe that's why we're here.
Transformation as well. Transformation. See him transform, because God did it for us. And we're still growing. We're still connected. We're still, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Definitely.
Sure.
Definitely.
So that being said, I just want to say to everyone who's watching and for those that will share this video, number one, we're really humbled and grateful, and we appreciate you taking time to hear our initial episode. Of course, we just wanted to come really, really organic, raw, unscripted, and just give you our hearts. And so with that being said, if you find value in this episode, this podcast, this video, like it, share it, subscribe for more content, because our goal is to keep it as real as it can be. And once again, if you're dating and engaged, we want to help you.
Yes.
You can learn so much from our mistakes. If you're in that 0 to 5, 7, 8 year range, there's a lot we can talk to you about. For those of you that are now your empty nesters, maybe you got your teenage kids, or now they're grown, they're at the house, you're empty nesters, and you're looking at each other like, okay, now what? Who's this chick I married 20 years ago? I think we've been there, done that. We can help with that as well. Sharon, before we close out, any last words as we look forward to taking this journey with so many that will watch, listen, participate, and be part of our story as they seek to better their relationships and their marriage?
I just want to encourage you all, as my husband just stated, walk with us. We gave you like an overview tonight, but we want to give more detail and specifics to our story, like more depth in our dating relationship. Like, how did we date in college, and then, preparation for marriage, and then, first year marriage, having kids. That's all a part of a relationship. How do you parenting? We want to talk about all those things, and again, those challenging moments, because you can have highs and lows in your relationship. We want to just help you navigate. That's why we're here, because we don't want to see any marriages fail, any relationship fail, anybody frustrated or hopeless, because there is hope. I want you to know there is hope. So that's what I want to leave them with tonight, because we're going to go more in depth in our story. I'm just excited about this journey, and I'm excited about you all going with us. And I want to say this, because you mentioned this, and of course this will be a whole nother episode, but one of the things that have definitely kept us connected and encouraged is we love to travel. You definitely love to travel, and I do too. But you can do it alone. I don't like doing it alone.
That being said, we've got a trip coming up we're excited about, and we'll talk about that. In fact, we look forward to bringing many of you all with us through videos and reels and content and all that good stuff. But until then, just want to say thank you again. And once again, subscribe, like, send it to someone else. If you think this could be of value to them, we'd really appreciate that. And until the next video, God bless you.